Hello and welcome to Veyr's video book series, or at least that's what I'm going to call it because it's a video in which I read what will hopefully in the future be part of a book. It's not a book now, it's just what I've written, but someday maybe one of my dreams is to become an author, to have a book. Anyhow, I'm just going to do this because I like the idea of being able to put out my work somewhere where someone might see it and maybe give me some helpful feedback because I don't know. Alright, let's get started. The oceans roared lightly in the background, lapping forcefully yet gently on the gritty sand. The angel blinked tranquil eyes infused with inexorable azure, ringed by a maelstrom of sanguine hues. She slowly knelt down beside the motionless man, moving so fluidly that it appeared she melted into position. He could feel the energies coursing through her bloodstream, emanating off the surface of her skin as she brought her head beside his ear, spreading feathered wings that spanned his vision. "There are secrets," she told him, "that mortal man should not know." The man remained motionless as the wind ruffled his torn brown business suit. He did not know if he was scared. He could not tell what he felt. Impossibility itself knelt in front of him, a fantasy best left unfulfilled. She paused before whispering several words, which fell like feathers in his ear. His eyes widened in disbelief, mouth stretched into an expression of infinite despair. His heart tried to rip itself out of his traitorous body while his breathing devolved into desperate gasps for air. As the angel stood and backed away, his hands tensed into claws stretching deep into the dusky tangerine skies strewn with graphite clouds. He emitted a howl, quiet at first, which rapidly crescendoed into a mournful elegy of boundless horror. He sunk down into the cold embrace of unwarmed sand, laying prone. He lost his awareness then, streams pouring down his face, eyes barely able to see the silhouette of an angel, winging off into the sunset. A small boy, crying on the sidewalk, fat tears rolling down his face and sinking into the rigid concrete, beside a small splotch of crimson. A woman knelt down beside him and embraced him. Who was she? A mother, yes, a loving mother. Mournful hazel eyes filled with infinite kindness. Light pink dress, unaware and unafraid of the layer of dust and murk layered atop the imposing concrete. Straw hat, wrapped in a single peach ribbon, fluttering in the wind of the cloudless sky. Her eyes blinked calmly, consoling the young boy. Words, spoken and heard, drifted downward. Tears rolled down her cheeks as she comforted the boy. "You are so fortunate. Pain is temporary. All wounds heal with time." She waited a second, letting the words sink in, even as she could barely bring herself to speak them. Secrets. True secrets that cannot be told. They will stay with you until the end. The scene drifted into a night far away, leaving an afterimage of a boy with a scraped knee, consoling a mother. His eyes jolted open in the moonless light, and he sat up with a vengeance. The wind lashed his sensitive eyes viciously with dry, corroding sand. His vision faded in and out, and a profound spin overtook his view of the world as he tried to stumble towards the safety and shelter of a cave hewed in the sandstone cliffs. He was swept off his feet by that spin, a mere yard away from safety. What strength he summoned was poured into his aching limbs, willing himself to stand, to crawl, even drag the dead weight of his lifeless body to shelter. Never had he experienced such emotions. Never had he experienced such power. Could it be true? Angels didn't lie. He intrinsically knew. There was no possibility that he had misheard. As the first inches of his torso emerged into the cool, embracing sandstone, all willpower drained from his limbs, and he crumbled down, broken. There was no pain, no bliss, no need to continue living, no need to end it all. The only mote that tied his lifeless body and mind to this world was the sentence that refused to stop bouncing around in his head. A surreal fact, spoken by an ascended entity under Utterly unbelievable. Completely impossible. Yet it still remains a fact. His neck lost its strength to hold that last semblance of his consciousness above the sandstone's rough embrace, and his head crashed down, unfeeling and unaware before impact. He became vaguely aware of his body drifting around. It swayed gently in a rolling motion, and with every cycle, a rough object scraped against his chin. His scraggly hair was plastered, almost painfully, to his forehead. Icy fingers felt bloated and swallowed, and he felt as if billions of teensy ants were mobbing his feet. His eyelids were encrusted shut with a grainy white substance. With the assistance of his bloated, drenched fingers, he managed to open one of his eyes. Just a smidgen. Wait a moment. Drenched? He fully pried open his eye, splashing a bit of water on it to dissolve the salt. What in the world? He was a singular living being, drifting in between massive waves as he clung to a scratchy hunk of driftwood. They were a dark cerulean, churning and bubbling with fury. With noticeable effort, he craned his neck skyward to check the weather. Tempestuous, near-black clouds swarmed above like angry hornets. They drifted haphazardly, often in several directions at once, as dictated by the furious winds. Massive jolts of lightning flew around, occasionally slamming into each other with terrifying crashes. Clouds were merged and separated by the will of the wind. One cloud could be torn into three just as easily as three became one. His light rolling motion evolved into a sickening sway, and then into a terrifying whirl as the ocean slowly matched the fury of the skies. So this was a monostorm. This was what it felt like to be trapped in a whirlpool. The man couldn't bring himself to care. His life was on his last thread, and he was helpless and hopeless at the mercy of the elements. And he couldn't care less. Let the angel's secret die with him. The first thought that came into his head was that he was dead. Of course he would be. The virtually indestructible arc-light hadn't survived the tempest. A salt-crusted, hapless human clinging for dear life on a hunk of beaten driftwood wouldn't either. But death couldn't be this greedy, could it? And as uncomfortable as death should have been, man, was it nasty to be stuck to yourself with grains of salt. He ripped his arm viciously from his side, exposing the raw skin to the calm breeze. That felt nice. He sighed comfortably. That was probably enough activity for a day. He knew in the back of his mind that he would die if he didn't get some fresh water into his system, but he pushed that nudge aside and laid on the gritty beach, rays of sunshine warming his back. "Oi, there's a guy here!" shouted a rough, well-used voice, clearly beckoning someone else to take a look. "He looked dead, Kerp. We ain't taking a dead guy back to town. Not even moving," replied a bored second voice. "Shut up and check your sorry carcass for something valuable, Vork. We ain't got all day, you know." Vork scrounged around in the tattered, once brown business suit for something, anything of value. Kerp's voice was law, as far as they were concerned. "Aha! I think there's something good in here." Vork fished out a small leather pouch and shook it excitedly. His crooked smile of excitement wrought into dismay as he heard a plasticky jingle. "The hell is this?" Kerp snatched a pouch from Vork and ripped open the drawstring and emptied its contents. A cascade of curious tokens fell out, scattering themselves in the sand. "That ain't money," Vork said in a flat voice. Kerp nodded in curt agreement. "Worthless dead guy," Kerp spat as he kicked the salt-encrusted corpse. Imagine their horror when the dead guy hacked loudly and spat a mouthful of salt onto the sand before resuming labored breathing. His salt-encased body crackled as his lungs expanded and contracted. "Crap, crap," Vork hollered as he ran around in circles. "Necromancer!" "Shut up," Kerp bellowed at his mate. "This ain't the work of a Negro. This sorry ass is alive!" Oh. Vork abruptly stopped rushing around. What do we do with this guy? He waited as Kerp racked his diminutive brain cells for a solution to the problem. Kerp scratched his bushy beard with thick, grimy fingers. He pondered the situation. Then, his eyes lit up with an idea. "Give his worthless junk back," said Kerp, with a forced smile and a shrug. That's it for today's. Thanks for listening, and I hope you enjoyed. I hope it was powerful and maybe meaningful to you, me, anybody really. If you did enjoy, please let me know. If there's something that you would like to ask about, please also let me know, because I will try my best to answer. And as always, do have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time on Videobooks. And don't derp around too much while I'm gone.